detectives who investigated the Rettendon triple murders believe there could be a link between the case and £500 worth of cannabis found in a farmer's pond in West Hanningfield. The cannabis, discovered in 53 black plastic packets, had been dropped from an aircraft. It was found by a farmer and recovered by Essex Police Underwater Search Unit about 22 months ago. The link was received exclusively by ex-Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley. I strongly believe there was a connection between the cannabis in West Hanningfield and this case. Mr. Dibley also believes that Patrick Tate, the 18-stone bodybuilder who took various drugs, was a purpose for the murders. He had fallen out with Michael Steele when Steele had apparently imported poor quality cannabis. Tate had threatened to make Steele beg for forgiveness on his knees and then kill him, but Worms and Steele got there first. They lured Tate, Tucker and Rolfe to a workhouse named Rettendon, where they believed they would learn about a cocaine consignment. The 3 victims were shot 8 times, but Essex Police had neither fingerprints or forensic evidence to help them with their inquiries. It was only when Darren Nichols, originally from Braintree, a driver and general handyman for Steele, turned Queen's evidence that they managed to progress. The court had heard that Nichols drove the killers from Rettendon, believing apparently they begun on a race involving drugs. Then he realised what had happened. Worms was wearing blood-stained white surgical gloves and overalls. Guns were dismantled, and the killers were amused that Steele's shotgun had fallen apart, the court were told. Nichols has now been given a new identity and moved to a new address, either in the UK or abroad. It was almost certainly the most important supergrass protected by Essex Police. Police had previously tried to lure Steele to a meeting by keeping up an IRA pretense with underworld detectives working in Belfast. An underworld detective would have met Steele and then tried to infiltrate his team. But the Irish story had not enticed him. Meanwhile, Tate's behaviour was becoming more outrageous. He tried to order pizza cut into 6 with 6 different toppings. When told this could not be done, he went to the restaurant for a cash till across the floor and assaulted the manager. The former detective superintendent praised detectives involved in the investigation. He said Essex should be proud of them. Mr. Dibley said initially there was very little to go on, but that kept them committed. At an earlier stage, the parents of Lashington ecstasy victim Leah Betts were suspects. Former Metropolitan Police Officer Paul and his wife Janet were questioned for several hours before it was discovered they were being interviewed by Anglian television when the murders took place. All 3 victims had been well known for some time to police as drug dealers. Tate was an armed robber and once escaped from Bellericay Court and eluded police by jumping on a waiting motorcycle. Steele told Nichols he felt like the angel of death after the murders and said he felt like he'd done everyone a favour. Jack Worms and Michael Steele met their downfall in the most imposing and historic court in the land, the scene of many famous trials. Court 2 is an impressive sight, high wooden panelling almost dwarfing the people inside. Since September the 1st, the violent Essex underworld had been brought into the chamber. Jack Worms and Michael Steele had appeared relaxed during most of the proceedings, both seemingly sure they would be acquitted. But as the trial neared its conclusion, the stress began to show. Then at about 2 p.m. yesterday, the tension gripping the court was almost tangible as the jury filed in. It had been a gruelling 4.5-month trial, followed by 4.5 days of deliberations. Some had speculated that the longer the deliberations went on, the better the chances of acquittal. About 20 reporters from the press, television and radio had gathered at the court. Mr. Justice Hidden entered the courtroom and the defendants were brought up to dock. Mr. Justice Hidden entered the courtroom and the defendants were brought up into the dock, flanked by 5 security guards. 3 armed police officers were also waiting close by. The jury walked in about 2:15, not one of them making eye contact with the defendants. It was a telltale sign of what was to come. The fate of Worms and Steele was sealed as the woman foreman of the jury gave the unanimous verdict. What followed was a mad scramble outside the courtroom as the verdict was phoned to news desks all over the capital and the East County. Tony Tucker's girlfriend first learned the men who gunned down a lover would face trial from the spirit world. Donna Garwood from Basildon, who met Tucker in the town's Records nightclub, sought guidance from a medium after the killings. She said, "This woman told me There will be a court case. I can't say any more than that. And she mentioned the name Michael. All along, I knew who was responsible. When I heard they'd been arrested, I thought back to what the medium had told me. But I didn't think Williams and Steele would get done for it. The police were very confident, but at the end of the day, it's not up to them, it's up to the jury. Donna met Steele at a party when Tucker was alive. She was asked by Essex police to pick out the killer in an identity parade after the murders. She said, "I was too frightened to do it then, but I pointed him out in court. I was really nervous, but I thought at the end of the day, if I don't do it, I'll basically be sticking it for Michael. I did what my heart told me to do." She added, "I think Tony would be really pleased at the verdict. I bet he's having a drink up there to celebrate. But although I'm over the moon, all this doesn't bring Tony back. Michael has taken away the love of my life, and part of me has gone with him."